Chapter 21. There is no honor or brains among crims. Me. I grabbed my luggage and went outside to sit with my motorcycle. Stealing this would spell the loss of my passport. There was no way I was going to sit in that reception with the young woman complicit in this horrific event. Before I'd gone out, and while I was listening to Hon, I noticed a group of Jewish princesses over the road. Despite the rain, they were out here with ponchos and umbrellas. I stared at them and noticed them all turn to look at where I was sitting on the couch. I would have been hard to see through the rain-drenched glass, but they knew I was there. They were keeping watch on me. Amateur cockatoos. The rain had subsided when I took my post on the concrete picnic table and chairs that the IDFHCs were occupying before. Here I was under a CCTV off the front of the hotel. There was another on the street attached to a lamppost. There was no way they'd just come out here and grab me, while I kicked and screamed and woke up the neighborhood, no matter how corrupt this whole hotel seemed to be. I decided to risk running up to the 7-Eleven up the street to grab some sugary drinks to get me through. I should have bought far more than I did, not knowing how long this vigil would take. On my way up, I saw a homeless bloke and a young male sleeping up against the shop. He smiled at me, and I greeted him. Sawadee-ka. A friendly face is a friendly face, after all. Closer to the 7-Eleven, the South American, or maybe Israeli, knowing how many of them were here, and no doubt in on it, was standing in a doorwell on the street. I was furious about these fucking spies everywhere. Cockatoo, I sang as I passed him. He wasn't Australian, so he wouldn't know it was slang for a person posted on lookout by crims. I loved letting all these players know that I knew. My adrenaline and bravado were through the roof. I also got a shot at Hon when I got back. It was extremely risky, but I went in to fill my water bottle and use a downstairs loo. Thank goddess I didn't have to go upstairs for a slash. Absolutely no one was in the communal area. No one probably wanted to be seen by me. Cowards were hiding. You're putting a lot of pressure on an innocent, I shot at him as I briskly walked through. I was talking about the receptionist, and I meant it. She was copping all my suspicions and blame. He didn't answer. He was also no longer on some loudspeaker call to a gangster who was helping with this rape event. There was something else that I'd overheard when he decided to go public with this evil shit. Oh, the Portuguese have been fantastic. The receptionist, on hearing this, poked her head around the monitor that had been obscuring my view of her and looked straight at me. How was I related to the Portuguese? Did they think I was Portuguese? I had a whole heap of time ahead of me to contemplate everything. Well, as much as I could, logically, amongst trying to guess what other plans they had for me beside the gang rape. Everyone was out to gang rape me, from the vast emptiness of the western New South Wales grainlands to the corrupt city of Chiang Mai, Thailand. Why me? Who did they think I was, and what did they think I had done? I was so relieved I had a full pouch of tobacco from duty free, as punching durries was going to be a big part of keeping myself awake. That and one of the Sudafeds that I thankfully brought. And thank goddess I didn't travel like all of these wankers. Huge, expensive luggage that you need a taxi to move. I had my leopard print backpack and my motorcycle bag, all carry-on luggage. I decided to move my motorcycle right up to the picnic table so I could easily grab it if someone came along to take it. I secured my backpack to the seat, motorcycle satchel under the pop-up seat, and put other bits and pieces like my tobacco purse into a little compartment on the steering column. The helmet sat in its back pannier. I sat up on the table to give me a better view of the comings and goings on the street, and there was a shit ton of comings and goings. The whole of the old town seemed to be full of young Israelis. They walked past drunkenly. None of them acknowledged me, thankfully. All of the princesses and their IDFHCs were very noticeably out on view now. They knew that I knew, and they weren't criminal types. But why the fuck did they want to see me get raped? The other various crims, grubs and grommets would want to do it because they're rapists, and they probably get money for it. Viewers would pay for the live stream. I'm sure that was the dorks' plan. Well, the skip grommets here at the Lloyd probably pay to be rapists. Fucking grubs that they are. I followed people on Insta who were outspokenly pro-Palestine and against the attacks. I followed Clementine Ford, who was receiving so much heat because of her involvement. I wondered if they just found me through her following accounts. If anything, they'd love to do this to her. What fucked up weirdos, though, to want to have a woman raped because women they knew were raped and killed on October 7th by Hamas. And were they going to do those things to me? Cut off my breasts, stick weapons up me, torture me to death, as happened to those poor women. I never once posted the idea that they deserved it. What if the super dorks that seemed to be the ones tracking me? I realised the Dingleford dork was just a cover for the real tracking crime that was going on. His FB thing was just local. This was global. Hacked my social media and made it look like I'd wanted Israeli women raped and killed. There was so much to think about, and sitting on that concrete table, that was all I could do. My mouth was dry, my brain was reeling. I never in my life been in such terror, though was not showing an inch of it. I was watching the South American Jewish guy in a bar just up the street from the hotel. He was sitting there knocking back drinks and surrounded by Thai women. There was an extremely unattractive Aussie male who could have been my age but looked older because he was a garden variety, Southeast Asia, piss wreck, sitting with him. He left the bar and walked past the hotel a few times looking right in at me. He had absolutely no regard for me being able to clock his face. I was reminded of the saying, if they're wearing masks, they're coming for your ride. If they're barefaced, they're coming for your life. I was pretty sure that I was going to be tortured and killed. Why else would they need the criminals that Hon had inquired about? All I could do was watch and think and watch and smoke. I tried to make sense of the whole thing. If I was imagining it, if I was having some sort of a mental breakdown, complete with paranoid hallucinations, no one came up to me to ask if I was all right. This thing was big. The messages that came to me at Billy's were right. There'll be a lot more voices if you go overseas. What was I in? Why had they gone to such huge trouble over me? Was it just because I was in the wrong place at the wrong time at Billy's? It must be that. I don't have enemies like this. Maybe the Dingleford sex pests now, but they aren't big enough for this shit. Billy is, indeed, big enough for this shit. She lives close to the capital of Australia where shit like this would get devised. She's got defence contacts through her ex-husband. Maybe it's all through him and she's just employed. I wondered if their kids knew. And the super dorks who were behind this. Again, this project could well be sold to abusive males all over the planet so they can keep their women if she tries to leave. Threaten her with non-prosecutable gang rape, or blackmail and capture them if they don't want to be with that male in the first place? Or were they just putting me in terrifying situations where they can monitor my reactions and test out their calming brainwaves? I was amazingly cool, calm and collected. I was fucking furious, so I guess that's what kept me calm too. A physical display of anger would have been a bad move. I knew that much. They could call the cops. And as though they read my mind, the bar assholes up the road devised a plan in their drunk little noggins to call the cops on me. I could hear them calling out, "Call the cops, call the cops." They really had no subtlety, dumb piss wrecks. One of the Thai bitches went and stood under the CCTV camera and spoke Thai into her phone. So she was the stooge that was going to pretend that I attacked her or something. What would be the point of this? The cops would hand me over to the gangsters, that's what. Fucking corrupt Thai pigs. This was now really bad. And suddenly an old friend was back. She was wearing a mask, so she mustn't have been one of the ones that was coming for my life. Dressed up like some kind of Japanese Hello Kitty girl, the ladyboy rode past on a matching motorcycle with a COVID mask on. I could tell straight away from her voice. The revolting pieces of shit that she was associating with, working for, would no doubt be transphobic. I can tell from their voice and their Adam's apple, a phrase I'd heard uttered by so many transphobic sex tourists before today. Why be in with your enemies? Money. This is Thailand and no one can afford to believe in their politics, let alone act on them. So from what I knew, Hon, the PNG guy, the Leb, and all the Thai hotel staff were getting paid. The Jewish princesses and their IDFHC partners and a few single ones were there for free. They probably paid to do this. They could be the hirers of the super dorks, but the super dorks had somehow misrepresented me to the Israelis to make me out to be worse than I was. But they surely wouldn't travel halfway around the world on a moment's notice just for a lefty, sex-positive, middle-aged, unemployed woman who was a nobody in Australian society, let alone on a global stage. Everyone seemed to know who I was too. I guess that was because of the tracking. So that Asian guy who asked me about the Wi-Fi was staring at me intently because he was getting tracking messages on his phone. I had to do something about this fucking phone. I had it switched off. I needed to reset it. Fuck, so many things I had to do if I got out of this alive. There was something else I promised to whoever I was praying to. I'd keep in contact with my parents. It's funny how you go to deities when you're staring death in the face. I was glad that there was a little Buddhist traveller temple in the corner of the hotel motorcycle car park. I went and held my hands in position against my forehead and prayed my fucking heart out. The ladyboy kept running back and forth to the cop shop on her motorcycle. When she'd get back, she'd wait outside the Cockhead bar, updating them. I don't know how I did this, but I did. Eventually, at one point, I knew the cops weren't going to come. I don't know how I knew, but I knew. I'd been flipping a coin whenever I got a chance. I didn't flip it about that. As much as I believe in it, if it had come back as yes, I would have had to give in to my terror. I asked the coin if I could safely piss in a little grotto in the garden. It said yes. This was how I knew I wasn't going to get into trouble by anyone for pissing in the corner. Piss on this fucking hotel. I really enjoyed that. I asked the coin if it was because they knew I was from Australia and would be missed. No. I asked them if the cops were having beef with the particular gangsters who'd organised this whole thing. Yes. That would make sense. Corrupt cops and crims all came unstuck at some point. Bribes aren't paid, things aren't done right. This is understandable because they are all males. I tell you, they should employ the ladyboy as an official gangster. This bitch did her best to get shit done. Very dedicated to the cause. And had to take over from all the tens of dummies who were fucking up this whole operation. I was so relieved that she wasn't working on reception. She probably would have closed reception and I'd be out on my ass. My prayers to Buddha worked, and they delivered something else right into my lap. Literally, some concrete evidence. A tuk-tuk pulled up, driven by a young Thai male with tattoos all over his face. I shuddered and thought, what the fuck kind of gangster shit am I in for now? There was a European in the passenger seat and he stumbled out holding an envelope with a fistful of big Baht bills in it. I stood up on the ready. The driver wasn't taking the bills. He probably didn't have change. I knew this much from living in Thailand. I came forward and offered the driver a couple of 100 bills when the Euro male, who turned out to be French, face planted at my feet. He was muttering about the Israelis. He was part of the rape event. The tuk-tuk driver then said something that explained the drunk situation. I've been driving him round and round and they said they'd call when it was time to drop him here. It slowly dawned on me what that was about, and then he uttered the words that I'll remember for the rest of my life and appreciate him for. Something bad is going on in this hotel tonight. Do you want to come with me? I declined. As much as I wanted to, I had to guard the bike with my life as it represented my passport. He followed up with, do you want me to stay? Oh my goddess, oh my Buddha, this was the kindest offer I'd gotten for such a long time. I again said not to worry about it. I was full of supreme confidence. The corrupt cops weren't going to get me. and this French pisswreck wanted to make friends. He would surely tell me what the fuck was going on. The tuk-tuk driver took off. I hoped he wouldn't get into trouble. No one deserved to get into trouble if they helped me. Alex. Luckily I could understand his drunken French accent, firing out random things in a stream of consciousness. He couldn't understand my English, so I couldn't ask him much. Here are some things that poured forth from this near-dead from alcohol blood level male in his 60s. They told me you were horrible, but you're not. I like your style. You're so cool, like a man. They paid me to drive around all night and come at the end, trying to offer me 1,000 baht notes, which I declined. If I was your age, I'd fall in love with you. That tuk-tuk driver got me in trouble, and many more. He played all the hits. He sung for me, not literally, thank goddess. I even took my hair down from the tight bun it was in on top of my head so he could ooh and ah at how good looking I was. I know this wasn't right, but nothing was right about this night. Alex was the rape runt. They'd convinced him that I was bad and even paid him a lot of cash to come rape me at the end. The ignominy of a dirty pisswreck raping me was meant to spell the end of me. I really don't know what that experience would have been like. I doubt it would have killed me. The thing is, I don't know what it's like to be raped. I've been raped, sure, but they needed to drug me to bring me down. They didn't need to do this at this global, stellar, political mass rape event. I was a real star, and they'd gone to so much trouble to make it spectacular for all the viewers at home. So there'd be as many disappointed subscribers as there were at the failed Netflix Logan v. Tyson fight. Sucked in, super dorks. I wasn't thinking forward. I didn't want to. Just because they didn't get me this time didn't mean they wouldn't have a shot at getting me again. I focused on the now, though. I had to. The drunken South American was coming towards us. He was muscly, younger than me, with curly hair to his shoulders. He wore a tight singlet to show off what he had. At first he put his hand on Alex's shoulder and asked him if he was all right, like I was a threat to Alex. I replied, leave him alone. He was just doing it for money. Everyone's just doing it for money. There's no harm in that. Fucker was cool. I felt a bit destabilised when he leaned against the motorcycle, trapping me between the picnic seat and the table. So I sprung up to sit on the table. So you're an Aussie. G'day, mate. You reckon? He slurred at me because he had quite a significant personality bypass. He thought this passed as humour. It went on and on. I finally said, okay, I got it. You don't like my accent. Well, where are you from? Where do you think I'm from? I realised this was a bit of a trick question. I guessed Argentina. I must have guessed right because he brightened up. Or I'd guessed wrong and he was thrilled that I hadn't guessed he was Israeli. I told him I'd been to Argentina and really liked it. I couldn't believe I was making small talk with this fucking animal. He asked me my name. Azura. It's a Hebrew name. I wanted to let him think that I was from Jewish roots myself. I'm not. I've just got a Bible-worshipping aunt who read the Old Testament and found it nestled in the line of Joseph. He didn't react either, just kept grinning evilly at me. I said something next which really surprised me. Look, I'm really sorry about what's happened to your countrywomen. That was awful. He seemed to tacitly take this on and appreciate it without vocally agreeing. I kept going. Grief makes people do weird things. Something welled up in me that wasn't going to be diverted into politeness this time. But you know what's a worse feeling to live with than grief? Guilt. I delivered this last word slowly and with all the venom I could muster, which was quite a bit. He was filled with rage from initially thinking that I was on their side, as if I would be. He was planning on raping me. And he still planned on it. The next thing he did should have filled me with fear, but it was plain comical. He reached out and grabbed my knee, then took his hand back quickly. Oh, is that you trying to rape me? Why don't you film it? He was full of energy and seemed to be pleased at this ridiculous move. It didn't bother me. I was no longer scared of him. He bowed to me and wished me a good night sarcastically. Yeah, off you go, fuckhead. Get out of here. This time his rage doubled, and he seemed to make a decision in his drunken head and rushed for the door. This actually made me nervous as I guessed he was calling for cavalry to support him. I ran after him and said, "Oh, so you're going to dob on me, are ya?" I'd show him an Aussie accent. What a fucktard. No one came down to get me. I like to think that they had to restrain him when he got up to rape headquarters. Typical, out-of-control, emotional male who'd been promised a rape and was carrying on like a bitch because he didn't get it. This is real when I tell you. I hope it wasn't what I thought it was, but let's face it, it probably was. I heard a woman scream upstairs, so someone else probably ended up getting raped that night. Was it the Jewish princess who tried to get into a dorm and couldn't? I received a hunch in my head that it was the Taiwanese girl. She was with the super dorks. And they offered her up as a sacrifice because they could. If this was true, I should feel bad for her, but there's a lesson here. Lie down with rape as pigs, and if you're female, or even male sometimes, you're going to get raped. For they can threaten you with dropping you in with them should there be any legal trouble. And they'd have absolutely no qualms about this, because they don't operate in a decent, logical and loyal way. There's no fucking honour among crims, only in the movies. And tonight my life was like a movie. Probably better than any suspenseful female main character as hero movie that I'd ever seen. With the exception of Promising Young Woman, of course. She was badass. And I felt like a heroine. I even mentally thanked Billy for putting me through this crazy ordeal. It was the most pride I'd felt in myself for such a long-ass time. The Dingleford thing was threatening to unseat me, but it had nothing on this. I really outwitted everyone. Super dorks, crims, rich Israelis with a chip on their shoulder. I did it. A weird character came into the plot. While I waited for daylight to come, Alex waited with me because he was scared. A hippie-looking white male wearing a comical Robin Hood hat strode on up with a huge backpack on his shoulders. He dumped the backpack near us as well as his day pack. I called out to him, "Nice hat," sarcastically, of course. He replied something in a pissed-off manner and I clocked that he was an Aussie too. He looked just like Pete Evans and would have been one of his airhead disciples, I'm sure. I could see what was happening here. He went into reception to ask for a room. I yanked the door open and shouted, Mate, come and get your backpack. Don't leave it out here. It'll get nicked." They didn't have a room for him, so he came out and shouldered them back on. He was trying to make it look like I was stealing his shit so they could ring the cops. His accomplice came down, also wearing a backpack, and the two went off into the night. The accomplice was really surprising. A white, skippy male, ginger-headed with long hippie hair tied up in a bun. He looked so non-confrontational, but that prick was in the hotel to participate in the rape of me. I called out after Robin Hood, "See ya, Aussie." I'd love to run into them back in Australia. Stupid, guilty fucks who couldn't organise their way out of a paper bag. They were into patchouli and rape. What a combination. Finally, the beautiful birds of Thailand signalled that dawn was happening, even if I couldn't see it because of the cloud cover. A tropical monsoonal morning was about to begin. I still had hours to wait till 9 a.m. when the motorcycle business would open. I was now starting to lose it a little, just a little. I kept staunch, though. Some Jewish princesses came out the door in all their travelling linens and stupid roly-poly ports. I put my phone up, pretending to film them. They rushed back inside. Whatever super dork was on phone duty must have told them that I was just bluffing. I hadn't hit record. I didn't want to record in case I was doing something wrong and then I could really be arrested or some other bullshit. A little grommety grub came whistling out of the lorry with his hoodie pulled up around his face like Kenny out of South Park. I almost laughed. He was so ridiculous. Instead, I called out, "Interesting." I was letting them know I was all onto them, even if I didn't know who they were. Now that the crims couldn't take my life, they were suddenly cowardly, ducking for cover little fuckers. This wasn't the case for all of them, though. I was about to see who the super dorks were.